Good morning. Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Asia Pacific Telecom Summit 2021. I am Manoj Menon, MD and founder of Twimbit. And on behalf of everyone at Twimbit and our partner here, FI Networks, we are thrilled to be able to host this Asia Pacific Telecom Summit 2021. Twimbit is a tech firm uh, headquartered currently out of Singapore, and our mission is to bring joy in the consumption of research for every company and every career. Research has always been inaccessible, expensive, and not personalized, and we want to change that. And today we are thrilled to partner with FI. FI is a Seattle headquartered company whose mission is to help enterprises and service providers deliver extraordinary digital experiences. So thank you very much to FI to join with us to bring together to you this telecom summit. I started my career almost 26 years ago, and at that time I was an intern in one of the leading financial institutions in India, and I was very fortunate that I got to read, all the business plans of all telecom operators who had ambitious plans to grow telecom networks, and their plans were saying, "Hey, we will have about 50, 100, 150 million customers over the course of the decade." Little did I know that over these 25 years, we will have such an extraordinary growth with so much connectivity all around us, so much proliferation of the mobile devices. But telecoms is today at a very crucial juncture. After having seen such incredible growth, we are now reached a stage where growth rates for connectivity in most markets is zero or is hardly growing. There is intense competition, and therefore there is a pressure on average revenue per user. So telecom companies are looking for the next frontier of growth. What will drive the growth over the course of the next decade? And that is precisely the theme for today's conversation. So I think before I start, I think it will be a great time now. I thought we can do a quick poll question. I did this on LinkedIn. I got some responses, but at that time, the response was not limited to telecom service providers. Today, we have attendees today, mostly telecom service providers from all over this region. So what do you think are the biggest growth segments that you are likely to succeed in the next 5 years? Is it cloud? Is it financial services? Is it media, content, and gaming? Or is it e-commerce? Yeah. So you can take that quick vote now. And if we can see the results, it'll be great. As was expected, I think clearly many people see that cloud is the biggest opportunity that telecom service providers are going to succeed in the near term. So thank you for sharing that, and I encourage you all to continue to chat in the chat space. And I request you have to change the setting. Instead of chatting with the panelists, you have to change that setting to panelists and attendees. So we have a very great lineup. First of all, I need to thank 8 outstanding speakers, who are people who are running very important businesses in the telecommunications arena across Asia Pacific, who have so kindly shared their time to join us, do some preparatory work before this session, and also come and share their time and wisdom with all of us. So the agenda is as follows. We will start with a CEO perspective, and I'm honored to have Datuk Izzeddin Idris, who is the Group CEO and President of Axiata. And as you know, Axiata is a regional company. Their presence by virtue of their investments in 6 different operating companies across Asia. In addition to that, they have a wide variety of digital companies that they have incubated, and many of them are doing extremely well. And we are thrilled that he will share a visionary perspective of where he sees the future of telecommunications industry. And I caught up with him some time ago for that discussion. Now, other than that, we have, after that visionary perspective, we'll have a CTO dialogue. I'm thrilled to have CTOs from CTOs and technology leaders from some of Asia's biggest telecom companies, from Reliance Jio, from Airtel, from Telecom Malaysia in Malaysia. And also joining me will be James Feger, who is the General Manager Communication Services with F5 from the US, so that he can share with us a global perspective. After we finish that session, then the final third session, we will go into the great debate. There is considerable excitement about the opportunity with financial services. Today, the per capita consumption of financial services in Asia maybe is 1 or 2 per capita. We think that by end of this decade, that number could go as high as 20 or 30. So the opportunity is there. But can telecom companies, can the neo banks, can they capitalize? Can they win these opportunities? Can they execute their business plans very well? So we will end with that session. So we have this amazing lineup. I hope we all get to benefit. I encourage you to put some questions in the Q&A tab. I encourage you to chat. And great to see so many friendly faces from all over the world. Great to see you, Jafis. And thank you for that very exciting comment, Jafis. So let's start with the first session. And I caught up with Datuk Izzeddin Idris, Group CEO of Axiata, just about a week ago. And I had a very candid chat with him about the growth opportunities. Now, Datuk has taken the realm of Axiata from Tan Sri Jamal. Tan Sri Jamal and Axiata, the names are almost synonymous. For about 13 odd years, he established Axiata as a regional footprint. So Datuk Izzeddin has very big shoes to fill as he takes on that responsibility. So I engaged with him in some rapid fire questions, some overarching questions on where you see the growth. I hope you enjoy the session. I will come back immediately after the short session. So please, can we play the short interaction I had with Datuk Izzeddin. Good morning and welcome, Datuk. Thank you very much for taking the time. Congratulations on this new role. And you come with a pedigree of experience working in property companies, engineering companies, a large utility like Tenaga, and you bring this different perspective. So how has it been settling into this role? What do you bring from your past experience into this role?
Hi, morning, Manoj, and thank you for this opportunity to have a conversation with you. Well, yes, in a way, that's the, how shall we say, the quite opposite, contrarian approach to leadership, isn't it? At Axiata, we have this concept of zigzagging. So, you're either zigzagging from functions or companies or businesses, and in my case, it's very different businesses. But the common underpinning sort of theme across those businesses are the engineering capacity and capability. Quite frankly, it makes me wonder whether I should have pursued engineering as a basic degree as opposed to finance, right from the beginning. But all said and done, there are similarities. It's all about managing the people. It's all about managing the businesses, the stakeholders, and also the regulatory nature of all these businesses. Whether it's a power utility, highway concessions. They're very similar in that aspect. Yeah, and the good news is, when it comes to, for example, network management, in the power utility, even 1 second of a blackout matters because everybody notices it. Whereas in the telco world, you probably have the latitude of a few seconds, if not minutes. Yeah, but therein lies the similarities as well as the opportunities. But all said and done, I think in any role, I've said I've been very fortunate as an incoming CEO, to have a great team at Axiata. It's always about managing the people, and people is a very big agenda insofar as Axiata is concerned, so far as I'm concerned. Yeah. We've continued to develop people. We've spent so much money on training and development, and we'll continue to do so. For the organization as well as for the country, all the footprint countries that we're in.
Excellent. So, Datuk, in order to get a good perspective into how you think on a wide range of issues, I thought we should do a rapid fire. So I put together I put together a series of rapid fire questions to help us understand how you think about opportunities, how you think about various things that matter to people in the telecoms industry. So I'll go through them very quickly, and we look forward to your responses. So maybe let me start. So will financial services be a big part of your business by end of this decade?
For sure, definitely. We see that as a growth opportunity. We see that as a natural extension of our business. And of course, the aim is to serve the unserved and underserved. Now, of course, all this subject to regulatory framework. We've seen what other markets have done, but we believe in the markets or footprint countries we're in, there's ample opportunity for us to venture into the financial services sector. In fact, we're already doing so. I mean, in Malaysia, we've got a loan book, we've sold insurance products, we're selling insurance products, and our e-wallet is one of the leading, if not the leading, merchants or wallet in the country, with 233,000 merchants and about 8.8 million customers, wallet users. Yeah, so we've already making inroads prime to seize the opportunity with the digital banking license that's coming up.
Will you expand to new geographies? You're already in about 6 or 7. Where do you see, let's say?
Well, if it's a telco business, probably not. If it's a pure MNO business, probably not, because the markets, as you appreciate, are very mature. We are already in the growth markets of Bangladesh and Indonesia. There's still a high growth opportunity, so that's fine. But if you talk about the other markets of, let's say, Vietnam, Philippines, it's either crowded or very well anchored on, the traditional, the incumbents operators. But to look at the tower business, definitely. To look at the digital businesses, for sure. Yeah.
In recent years, or maybe just in the last year, we saw the technology giants, the likes of Amazon and Facebook and others, invest in telecom companies.
Yeah.
Will you seek investments from technology giants in Axiata?
Well, it may not be Axiata per se, the holding company, but we are in discussions with some of these names at operating levels. At, for example, our digital businesses, at edotco, not so much edotco, but certainly at the digital businesses. Yeah, so I wouldn't exclude or preclude these tech giants to partner with us. What we need to do is look at the future of the telco business and bring in the right partners, for us at the various levels, whether it's at operating company or at Axiata itself.
Will you develop technology in-house? Telecom service provider for longest time relied on vendors to do it. The banks are changing. They're beginning to do in-house development. Yeah. What is your view on this?
Well, definitely so, because I think telcos have long been beholden to the vendors. We have an outfit called Axiata Digital Labs, which is a collection of maybe 250 data scientists, programmers, and IT personnel looking at how we can insource a lot of the functional capabilities as well as develop the future technologies for the telco industry. Now, we have a big advantage because we have 6 MNOs operating, and therefore we have the scale. I mean, if you were a standalone telco in one country, you can't possibly do that. There's no economies of scale. But for us, this is the way forward, especially when you look at, for example, Open RAN. Yeah, you have even the giants of TCS, Tech Mahindras venturing and acquiring software companies into that particular space. But we want to be there first because we believe we have the speaking rights, so to speak, to venture and to take a lead in this particular field.
Yeah. Axiata has always talked for the last couple of years the importance of the enterprise business. Are you looking, let's say, is acquisitions a way to grow that and build that capability?
Oh, definitely, because as part of our ambition to grow the enterprise revenue to 20% of our group revenue, we're talking about 5 billion sort of number here. A significant portion of that, close to 1.5 to 2 billion, is from inorganic expansion rather. So we are looking at opportunities to acquire not just revenue based, but capabilities as well. case in point, recently Dialog acquired the largest reseller in Sri Lanka called H1. But it's not just about acquiring the reseller, Microsoft reseller, but it's also working with Microsoft to develop future products for the telco industry.
What is your view on Capex spending? We see that there seems to be a set of people who are saying we can be more optimal. We can reduce Capex spending as a percentage of revenues. What do you think? Should Capex spending reduce?
Okay, this is a fine, delicate balance because between rewarding shareholders, i.e., paying dividends, there is a continuous need to invest in technology. Now, we have experienced it ourselves. If a telco chooses not to adopt a new technology, then you will end up being behind the competition. So the way to do, in my view, is to spend in a smart way. I see the creation of netcos in countries to be a real viable proposition. Now, to a large extent, that will reduce the MNOs to being pure sales and marketing sort of vehicles as opposed to the one with network. But at the end of the day, the customer is important, and the customer don't really mind who is providing the backbone, the network. Yeah. So telcos ought to get together and not continue to outspend each other, to set up the future networks. So yes, Capex will continue to be a big agenda. And as I said, we need to continue to invest in some of the countries, especially when there are growth opportunities. I mean, I keep talking about Indonesia and Bangladesh because these are, you can't go wrong with 270 million people in Indonesia and 145, 148 million people in Bangladesh. Yeah. So we will continue. We will have to continue, in fact. Yeah. And I guess that's as I said, a balancing act between, spending, continue to invest as well as balancing, rewarding shareholders in time to come.
Is 5G the magic bullet for telecom companies in the next decade?
I don't know about magic bullet, Manoj, because, I'm trying to serve the customer is important. Now, whether 5G will have a commercially viable use case for the ordinary customer, that has yet to be proven. But certainly for a lot of the industrial users, there are definitely applications that will be better off with 5G platform. But then again, why stop at 5G? It'll be, people are already talking about 6G and who knows, 7G and 8G in time to come. So I think the point is that will continue to evolve. And, for example, today we are stuck at home, working from home on this platform, right? I told the team why one day we should be wearing goggles and pretending to be on the same beach to have the same meeting. At least we don't feel physically and emotionally distant, So I think that's I think 5G is not just the one silver bullet. There'll be many other silver bullets to come, depending on the applications. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So in this environment, where do you see Axiata 5 years from today? How would you describe Axiata, and what is the change? Let's say, what is the biggest change you need to see in Axiata to make this future possible?
Okay. Well, the good news is the change has started. We have evolved from being the regional champion, being the digital telco. So Axiata 5.0 calls for us to be the next generation digital champion. Now, apart from the internal digitization and digitalization, there is that effort right now to evolve into providing those services that I talked about. So telcos will evolve into providing or becoming an anchor for a digital ecosystem, if you like. Yeah, apart progressively from the traditional MNO, you become platforms, and then the if you like, holy grail, if you like, is to be the anchor of a digital ecosystem. Now, of course, no one has the financial capacity as Geo did or have to create that digital ecosystem. Now, then again, there's a lot of the jury is still out there, I'm told, whether that is going to work or not. Now, we envisage ourselves in the various markets that we're in to be part of that anchor to that digital ecosystem. Yeah. So the partnerships are important. Meaning how and who we partner with to provide the services to the end consumers. Yeah. So if you like, that's key. the core of the anchor system is the infrastructure that we have already created over the years. And of course, with that will be the need to invest. Back to the question on Capex and so on, yeah, and a lot of this Capex that we need to invest, there's a long gestation period, and that's always the challenge that we have, yeah. But to your point, yeah, I think the telcos are well positioned in the various markets to be able to capture the opportunities in time to come, especially with the evolution of new products and services, customer behavior. Even internally, we are reviewing all the way we work. Yeah? For example, do we really need a branch network of 60 Celcom outlets in the country? My answer is no. Yeah, I'm not sure even if it's 20 or 10 even. Yeah. They could be your experiential sort of showcase centers, but to sell SIM cards and handsets, I doubt it very much. Yeah. Today, we need to go and reach to the customers, and the way we do it is first through the mobile handset, and after that through the physical delivery of goods. Yeah. So that's the way forward actually for telcos, and for us, it's about that. It's about creating the unicorns through our digital financial services and digital advertising, which has now evolved into a AI and analytics company. And you'll see, announcements, next couple of months of the evolution, if you like, of these two businesses, and of course our tower business. Now, tower business is the great, if you like, anchor to the telco industry. Rain or shine, it will make the numbers, the profits, the revenues that it has been contracted to do so. If people talk about how safe and protected the telco industry from the pandemic, I think within the telco industry, then the tower business is core. Yeah. Rain or shine, all the MNOs still need the towers, and therefore they'll have to pay those whatever that's contracted to the tower companies. Now, of course, the evolution of the tower companies will be twofold at Axiata. First, we plan to expand the business by way of acquisition. We're targeting something like 40,000 towers in the next 4 years. But at the same time, how we manage that business, yeah, through the maintenance and operations, for example, that will all be digitized in due course, yeah, within the next 2 to 3 years, yeah, by way of remote monitoring, remote sensing, and even remote maintenance of these towers. Pretty exciting times, actually, if you think about it, because we have that advantage of carving out first the tower business, and then we created this digital businesses in the form of the digital financial services and digital advertising over the years. Yeah.
Excellent. And do you see any fundamental shift in the business model, let's say over the course of next 5 years for Axiata, for telecoms?
I mean, for Axiata, as I've said, the MNOs, telcos, will become digital telcos. We have the second pillar, which is the digital services, basically digital financial services and analytics and AI. And then the third is the towerco, the infra business. Insofar as Axiata is concerned, this is going to be the core, if you like, form, yeah, in 5 years' time. Now, where the emphasis is, that's the difference. And for example, right now, we do not have the partnerships that I talked about to provide those services through the platforms. In 4 or 5 years' time, we will have stockbroking companies, we have remittance companies, we have loyalty companies as our partners, apart from all these other shopping malls and providers of goods and services. So if you like, the core of the business of Axiata will remain that. Yeah, I've always believed in focusing on the core business. Yeah, but what is around that core to serve the customer, that's, I think, it's the big difference that will change in 5 years' time. Yeah.
So you talked about the vision of telecom. How are you really executing or operationalizing this vision? I hear there is a 5.0 plan Axiata is pursuing.
Yeah. No, very good question, actually, because I believe all plans are as good as they are unless there's proper relentless execution, right? So under Axiata 5.0, there are 3 core pillars, what I call three core pillars. First is the sustainable growth in terms of identifying new markets, for example, enterprise. The other bit is how we are adapting to the new norm, or what the new norm will be. Secondly is operational excellence. Now, this calls for a rigorous cost management exercise, because at the end of the day, the future is data. So one of our clarion calls is actually to achieve a cost of 10 US cents per gig, and in fact lower, in a couple of years' time, because that will differentiate us again from a cost point of view. Of course, the agile organization, creating the right culture, and of course, from a stakeholder management point of view, we will do our business in a sustainable manner, mindful of the environmental challenges that we face. We have very good plans at E.co, because we realize that in our ecosystem, in our current ecosystem, E.co has one of the biggest opportunities in terms of reducing the carbon footprint. Talking about replacing diesel gensets, for example, across our 22,000 towers, solarizing the panel using wind farms and so on. And of course, the third core pillar is the industry consolidation, structural changes to the business that we need to see. And the structural changes entails the introduction of new investors, a point we talked about earlier on, at the different levels of different parts of the organization, so that we can partner with them to further the businesses. Of course, in all these three core pillars, there are 10 key focus areas, and a lot of them are really the broad sort of initiatives that internally we've embarked on. But the key message is always to be able to make sure we can manage our costs properly, and the target is 10 cents per gig, if not lower. We are targeting a EBIT margin of 20%, and hopefully in time to come, in a couple of years' time, 3-4 years' time, hope to pay dividends, sustainable dividends of at least 20 cents per share, to reward the investors that we have.
Right. So, you talked about operational excellence. Can you, and I've known you from your UEM days, and I've heard about your reputation for operational excellence. Can you explain that a bit more? What does that operational excellence really mean, and what should we be expecting from Axiata from an operational excellence standpoint?
Yeah. Okay. The concept of operational excellence manifests in many ways, and I guess depending on one's role, it could mean something else. Yeah. But essentially, operational excellence calls for people to carry on and deliver and do their work in the most efficient, practical manner. Now, what does that mean? I think in our business, where a lot of things can be or should be digitized, there is less need, if you like, for multiple, if you like, physical engagements. Now, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't interact at all, but it does mean that we can think differently. Now, the advantage of coming from a different organization, when I am posed with a problem, if you like, when I see a problem, I keep telling the team to take a blank sheet of paper, figure out where you are, where you want to go, and then decide the best way to get there. And then because if you start in the legacy systems, you will think of patchwork, and patchwork generally connotates a burdensome process, and somehow or other it might work on day one, but down the road it will fail. So operational excellence calls for improving the way we work, looking at things differently. Now with the new norm, it will mean looking in very, very differently. As I said just now, you don't need 60 branches of Telecom Blue Cube outlets, for example. Now, of course, therein lies also the challenge, because it's not easy for the average employee to change the way things are. People have this phrase, it ain't broken, why fix it? My view is, it ain't broken, you can still fix it, right? So, especially when you are up to the challenge of bringing down the cost to 10 cents per gig. Yeah. Now, of course, with the pandemic and the way we work right now from home, it's very, very difficult for people to brainstorm. It's not the same as sitting in a room and challenging each other with new ways of working. Yeah. But I think in our industry, we have the advantage of being fortunate with the systems that we have, the thought process that we have. So it's about reducing the way making. It's about working much more efficiently to achieve the same, if not higher, targets. Yeah.
So that you operate in a very unique set of countries, emerging economies, and
Correct.
that is what has defined the success of Axiata. So, what do you see as the role that Axiata will play, let's say, in this coming decade in these countries?
Well, our aspiration, as you know, is advancing Asia, and in that, what we mean is to uh, engineer the economic prosperity of these countries. And it is my true, honest belief that connectivity will provide the backbone, the platform for economic prosperity in all the emerging economies that we serve. Now, to be able to provide connectivity that's affordable to the masses, I think therein lies the challenge. And to do that, we need to make sure that our cost of doing business, the cost of spectrum, the cost of equipment, all that will be something that we can afford as a enterprise, profitable enterprise, to make sure that we can offer connectivity at a very affordable rate to the masses. So therein lies the challenge, and I do hope that countries will embrace, if you like, technology as much as and as fast as they should, because we believe with the communication infrastructure that we are able to set up, we can create the ecosystem to make available to the consumers who previously couldn't afford these services, because of the cost of doing so.
Excellent. I think that's fantastic, Datuk. That's fantastic. So great. Datuk, thank you for the encouraging words. I appreciate it very much. In fact, Asuri.
No, thank you, Manoj. At Axiata, as you know, our theme is advancing Asia. So connectivity is key to a lot of economies to prosper. The challenge is always to balance that with, let's say, regulatory challenges, if you like. Yeah. So we believe connectivity, telecommunications will enable a lot of people that have never had a chance, if you like. So one of our agenda is also to reach out to make sure that everybody has that opportunity, if you like, to being able to afford having a 4G handset, for example, to start with, let alone 4G subscription, because it's proven so many times in many markets, whether it's financial services, education. I think that's a great tool for any economies. And as I've said, our aspiration of advancing Asia, we think that telecommunications will certainly serve that particular agenda. So thank you again for this opportunity, and certainly we'll be meeting you again.
Thank you very much, Datuk. Thank you. So that was my conversation with Datuk Izzaddin Idris, the Group CEO of Axiata. I spoke to him about a week ago. And as we can see, as I look at the key takeaways, he clearly sees, number one, the growth opportunity is in all the adjacencies surround the connectivity. He sees an opportunity to unlock value with many of the assets, be it the tower company, or be it in serving the various opcos around the region. He also talked about operational excellence and an opportunity there. I think the good news for all the vendors is, he said Capex spending has continued to remain so that you can build out the networks well and you can continue to serve customers well. So I think we have set the stage for to bring in all our distinguished chief technology officers who will come and share with us their perspective on how to unlock that value. So I'm delighted that all the chief technology guys are here. Let me invite them one by one. We have Dheeraj Sharma, who is the Senior VP Networks with Reliance Jio. We have Anchik Azizi Hadi, who is the COO with Telecom Malaysia from Malaysia here. We have Rashim Kapoor, who is the head of networks at Airtel. And we have James. Figure James is joining us from the US late in the evening for you, James. Welcome. So thank you very much for joining us. I think maybe this is a great time for us to do a quick poll. There is so much opportunity that telecom companies have. The key is where can they prioritize, where can they execute. And one of the biggest transformation as far as the telecom company is concerned is the ability to have a common underlying IT and network infrastructure. How far away are telecom companies from this vision? So the question to all of you who are attending today is your organization likely to have a common underlying IT and network infrastructure by 2023? I know it's a very aggressive timeline, but nevertheless, I wanted to be a little provocatively challenging. So I'm keen to hear your views. So if you can take that quick poll question, and I think it will give our panelists something to chew about and talk about. So can we have the results of the poll, please? Yeah. Excellent. Oh, it seems a overwhelming majority feel this is likely. So I will get our distinguished panelists to comment. If that future is really that close, and if we can execute on that. So I thought for this session, the way we could do it is, since we have four such distinguished people with four different backgrounds, Anchik Azizi from traditionally a fixed network background. Welcome. Good morning. Great to have you here from Malaysia. We have Rashim. Rashim is stepping in for Randeep. Randeep unfortunately couldn't join in. Thank you very much, Rashim, for stepping in at such short notice. Welcome. And Dheeraj is, I think, dialing in here from Mumbai. So welcome, Dheeraj, as well. So what I thought is maybe we do a quick rapid fire, and a rapid fire so that we can get a very comprehensive view across a range of issues that as leaders, each of you are dealing with. And James, you can address this from the perspective as to how you see operators responding to it rather than you as an operator. And I do understand, I must say that some of these questions, I've tried to be very specific. You as operators may or may not be able to disclose some information. You have statutory obligations in your respective countries that you operate in. So feel free to respond to the best of your ability and what regulations permit you to. So the first question, which was also our initial question that I asked all the panelists, all the audience members, about a common underlying infrastructure for network and IT. So what percentage of the network will be on the cloud, let's say by a timeline of 2023? So you want to go first, Rashim?
Yeah, so at Airtel, if you see, we started our journey with the vertical cloud. I'm very proud to say that Airtel hosts one of the world's biggest voice VoLTE network on cloud. And it is totally on the horizontal stack. As we speak, most of the 4G workloads are already on cloud, and all our tool infrastructure is already on the cloud.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Dheeraj?
Yeah, so Manoj, in terms of the cloud, when we see the two parts, one is the 4G networks, and then the upcoming the 5G networks. When we see the 5G networks, we are going to be 100% on the cloud, including our core and also the IT part of the network, including the next generation OSS and AI ML enabled OSS operating systems. And that is something which is going to be everything on the cloud. And when we talk about the legacy network or the old network in the 4G, where most of the stacks are now moving to the cloud native platform, and they are moved. And the OSS stacks, some of the things which are not supporting the cloud native are being replaced with the open source or the cloud native. So you can see pretty well the entire telecoms are going to the cloud. And I think Jio being a very, very modern network, because only 5 years of the existence of the network. So we had an opportunity to move everything on the cloud from the day one. And that's the advantage, and that's the things we are leveraging even for the 5G also, so that we are having a better readiness for the 5G. And we have to do a very less forklifting or the uplifting and for the existing networks.
Excellent. Thank you, Dheeraj. Anchik Azizi?
Well, the short answer is yes. We are going through the journey. We are actually upgrading and migrating our both BSS and OSS into cloud. And we have ongoing RFP actually for our telco cloud intended for both fixed and mobile. So, well, if you ask me what will be in 2023, I would say around 80 to 90%, because we have started the journey. We'll go through transformation and go through the migration the next 2 to 3 years.
Excellent. James, how do you see the landscape, maybe from a global perspective? Do you see markets around the world?
Yeah, I will not argue against my fellow panelists here. This is the trend that we are seeing globally. In fact, we actually just did a study with about 1,500 customers. Obviously, this is enterprise and the telco segment, but we're seeing cloud deployments almost on par and parity now with on-premise deployments. So it's made a massive growth, and obviously this past year, I think has actually accelerated a lot of these concepts of common infrastructure to a cloud platform.
Excellent. Thank you. I encourage the audience, feel free to put in your chat and respond in the chat. You can go to the Q&A section. You can put some questions in Q&A, and we will get, it's rare that we get such leaders who run such big networks. We have Airtel and Jio each running with over 300-400 million customers each, and then Telecom Malaysia, a dominant company in Malaysia. So feel free to put your questions, and we'll try our best to try and get you some responses. The next question was 5G and potential impact of the business. Let's say, I know in the long term, yes, there will be a lot of impact, but if you were to say 2023, is it possible to put some number to it? Rashid?
I think number would be too early to say. In India, that 5G auction would happen by end of this year, most probably. We have already started our trials, both field trials and the lab trials. But I believe personally that it will bring lot of new revenue streams and the new applications. So right now, 4G gives a speed which is okay for a normal kind of a browsing and say a SD kind of a video. So this will enhance mobile broadband powered by low latency. So it will increase the consumption of the customers, and maybe it should have a good impact on the revenues. It will bring new services like virtual reality. A lot of gaming services are not launched into India because we don't have a 5G network. One of the example would be, say, Google Stadia kind of application. So they would provide more services to the user. Then 5G will also become an alternative to fiber. So fixed wireless access would be one of the big use cases of 5G. And then there will be a lot of use cases which will come from the industries of mining, hospitals, electrical companies, education institutes, where the 5G would play a really good role.
Excellent. Thank you. Dheeraj?
Yeah, I agree with Shim. So the opportunity which are there right now, at least in India, because there are many places we are not able to reach with the fixed broadband. So the enhanced mobility broadband is one of the great opportunity which we are going to see with the 5G. And in the Jio, what we are seeing, because we are now we are ready, not only for the trial, even for the commercial deployment, and it is already started. And I'm thinking all the networks which are in the backhaul side and all, they're already expanded to take care of the 5G additional capacity management. And plus our own innovation in the 5G RAN side, and plus the next generation, the OSS, BSS, which is going to be a major differentiator. And that's is ready now. So, and we soon should be able to launch and then able to take advantage of this. And on top of that, the area which is untapped is the enterprise market, and with 5G giving a network slicing and giving a differentiated services, I think that's another market which will be a big differentiator in terms of the bringing additional revenue which has been not catered to with the 4G.
Excellent. Anchik Azizi?
Well,
you're in a unique position.
Yeah. Interestingly, we have a very special situation here in Malaysia. About 10 days ago, the government announced the My Digital Framework, and 5G is one of the 4 pillars that announced by the Prime Minister. And the 5G network will be rolled out by the SPV that belongs to the government. And I believe this is healthy because the service providers now can compete at the retail end, especially for Telecom Malaysia. We are actually serving a full spectrum of users in Malaysia. Unlike most of the mobile operators, they are serving the individual, the consumer segment. But Telecom Malaysia, we are serving the household, the SMEs, the government, and also the large enterprise. So with 5G, that would enable us actually to do things like vertical solution for enterprises, for government sector, and also for the SMEs. So we actually very encouraged and excited with this development, and Telecom Malaysia will be playing a big role in terms of supplying and also buying capacity from this SPV in order for us actually to offer the complete solution for the various segments that we are serving in Malaysia.
Correct. Excellent. James, global perspective, we have seen good growth in 5G in China and in Korea as well. What is the global perspective you see maybe in the US and other markets?
Yeah, I mean, in the U.S., it's pretty aggressive. We obviously have a smaller group of really large carriers, and it's heavy investment, a lot of marketing, a lot of use case creation. One of the things that we're seeing pop up, and this was mentioned, is industry and agriculture. We recently participated with the 5G Open Innovation Labs around helping farmers with sustainable crops, essentially trying to recover from the pandemic. And I think those are the use cases that we'll see drive a lot of this technology. Because I think the other thing is that the end users, the consumers, the general public, they feel more educated around 5G. And so when we discuss what can be done with 4G versus 5G, the conversations around 5G and IoT actually flow more naturally, especially with the enterprise customers. I think from a global deployment perspective outside of the US, we see a lot of the spectrum auctions are ongoing. I observe personally just a pause in a lot of projects this past year, but now they are really starting to ramp up with aggressive radio deployments and edge deployments.
Excellent. Okay, great. The next question is, how important will cloud native be to successful rollout of a telco cloud? Go ahead. Rashid, go ahead. We'll change the sequence in the next run.
Yeah, so I would say cloud native would be a total necessity in a 5G domain. So in an NFA world, there is a certain amount of automation and resource optimization has happened. But cloud native will provide the service software upgrade, inline service software upgrade. Then the microservices based application would help us in independent scaling. Then cloud native would also enable 5G network slicing. So if we have to do a 5G network slicing, the cloud native is a must. Then seeing the geography like India, I guess India would at least require 300 to 400 data centers when we go for 5G SA. And then it requires a very, very efficient utilization of the hardware. So cloud native, which is a bare metal cloud native, would be required for the edge clouds, which would be, say, at least 300 data centers in India.
Okay. And has something changed in our opinion, this entire discussion around cloud native in the last 12 months? Would you have had the same answer 12 months ago, Rashim?
So we had the same answer around, say, 2 years ago. But the difference which has happened is now the applications have also become matured and they are supporting on cloud native. Earlier, the roadmaps of the application service providers were not intact. So that part has changed. Cloud native for the telco workloads has become more matured. More and more operators have started deploying this. If you see IT side of it adopted it faster, the network side of it, even the NFAI was adopted in last 2-3 years. And so that is the journey which the telco workloads were taking. Now, because the applications are ready, now it's the right time to start migrations on cloud native.
Correct. Dheeraj?
Manoj, so if you see now we see all the core are converged and they're virtualized, and we see all the virtual network function and the containerized network functions on this telco cloud. And because now it's a multi-service cloud, and everything is becoming open and virtualized, so the agility and the flexibility to introduce a new service, and also balancing of the workloads, because the things are becoming very dynamic, and the flexibility which is bringing towards managing the workloads across the network. And I think that's the one which is giving a big push for the putting everything on the cloud. And any new deployment which is happening, I think there's a zero custom deployment, everything on the codes, and moving to eventually to the SaaS and the open source framework.
There is one of the questions which has come from the audience, which is, in case of Airtel and Jio, is it public cloud or private cloud where you have deployed the network part? And in case of BSS, is it public or private cloud?
So right now, I think the answer is as a telco workload, because there are many regulatory restrictions are there.
Yeah.
So even if we want to do everything on the public cloud or eventually to the public cloud, which gives a good advantage in terms of the hyperscale and all. But considering the regulatory requirement, where we have the data, where we run the data, where we store the data, and where we security part of that, and plus also a lot of things are in the view of the regulatory and our own interest, own security. So I think all these telco workloads are there in our private cloud. But when we see the IT and adjacent services which are going to become it is happening now, there I think the collaborative application and things are moving to the public cloud. So I think it's a balance of the things, and what can be done which has to be done in the private cloud because of many regulatory aspects.
Okay. Rashim, you concur with that? Is this similar?
Yeah. So I agree with Dheeraj because of some regulatory concerns and also some of the issues regarding security and compliance. All the workloads are on the private cloud. We have got some small installations on the public cloud, but those are more of the broadcast kind of applications, not the telco workloads or OSS services.
Correct. Azizi, you want to say cloud native for successful rollout of your telco cloud?
Well, let me chip in to the last question. I mean, we had this debate between private and public cloud for our telco cloud. I think on the top of regulation and other things and so on, we also understand that the requirements in terms of processing power and latency are very stringent in telco cloud. So we decided that because we already set up our public cloud, we also have private cloud for our enterprise use. And when we look into telco cloud, actually, it is so much higher than our enterprise cloud requirement. So it will be a bit private, but specialized. We call it today specialized. Probably platform to support the processing power, the requirements, and latency that we require, and so on. So to us in Telecom Malaysia, we already have our public cloud offering. We have our private cloud for our internal use. We are tendering the telco cloud to be integrated with our cloud platform. And fortunately, as part of the announcement made by the government 10 days ago, Telecom Malaysia is actually one of the CSPs. We are the only local company nominated as the CSPs on the top of 3 global giant CSPs. So with the intent probably to serve some of the data governance requirements within the government of Malaysia.
Correct. Yeah, James?
Yeah, I actually have comments on both, on the original question and where we started discussing here. So the concept of cloud native, what we're seeing is, and when we're helping customers through, is not everything actually is best to be containerized. And I think as an industry, we have to be a little bit careful. In my former life before I joined F5, I actually worked for a carrier, and we were very early on adopting NFV. And what we quickly realized was that, we had it in our minds, like everything must be virtual. And you quickly realize not everything must be virtual. And so what we're helping customers with now is like, there must be a pragmatic approach to what works in a container and what does not work in a container. And if you find yourself sacrificing too much just to say it's in a container, it's probably too soon. And so I think finding the balance is probably the most important thing. However, in saying that, I also am saying that Edge and private telco cloud is probably one of the most important things that we're seeing our customers do at this point, because it helps with their operational efficiencies, both in terms of people and money, and also speed to service. And so obviously you want containers, you want to get there to achieve all these, business objectives, but you also want to make sure that the architectures are, still at the same levels that we've all grown to expect out of our service provider environments. The requirements, I think we were talking about, the requirements of the telco infrastructure are extremely high, and public cloud infrastructures in general weren't built for telco workloads. And so these telco and private clouds are being purpose built for telco type workloads, and they're very different.
Great. Correct. And James, maybe we continue with you, and we go reverse for the next couple of questions before we get to some broader discussions on. So, can the build out of service provider edge be used to capture parts of the user edge and the internet edge?
100%, yes. I believe so. I'm a firm believer that one of the greatest assets that the telcos have is their footprint and their infrastructure. And so proximity to the end user, whatever, whether that's a machine or a person or a campus, that is one of the greatest assets. And so by building out these edge platforms and using them truly as a multi-purpose, multi-tenant platform, you start achieving the business objectives that, candidly, I think we've all been dreaming about for a while with virtualization. And so what you'll see, at least from me and my team, is we are all in on that belief. I think it makes a lot of sense. And candidly, the public cloud companies themselves have proven that it's a working model. We just now need to apply that same type of discipline into the telco environment.
Yeah, and Zizi, and you can also comment on how much do you think edge data centers will be part of your total mix, let's say by 2023 or so, or is that too aggressive a timeline?
Well, we realize that is a very important component for us to succeed in future. Services. We have actually reserved 250 of our exchanges. This is telco environment exchanges. So today we're only occupying about 20% of these exchanges due to some equipment that we have replaced, upgraded, and so on. So we used to have 850 exchanges, but we have reserved 250 of them actually to convert and retrofit them to become our edge data center to serve this for the purpose of edge cloud for the next 3 years.
Excellent. Dheeraj?
So my view is we are seeing changes in the industry in the last decade. So I think all the on-prem equipments, people are moving to the clouds, which are centralized clouds, because to minimize the OPEX and come out of the hassles of managing each and every application. And now we are seeing, because now that is increasing the latency and some of the controls. So now the clouds are moving to the on-prem. So I think, or toward the edge side. So if you see the application, everything moving to the smart, whether it's a smart campus or it's a smart industry or is it industry 4.0 or smart buildings, and all the things require the processing, computing, and everything on the edge for the better experience and for the low latency applications and for the immersive video applications. And I think the workloads will push the clouds moving toward the edge. Now, and being the operator, I think you have correctly said, having a wider footprint is going to give an advantage. And but how much of that mobile the edge will move to the I'm thinking really will happen by 2023. It will all decide on be based on the business and the workloads and the requirement which is coming from the private LT or the private deployments of the cloud.
Correct. And do you see, just as a follow-up, because the hyperscalers seem to be running away with the overall public cloud market globally. And so do you think that in the edge space, you have a better chance, or you have a better chance to partner to support them, because the rollout of the edge for them may not happen as rapidly, and therefore you as a telecom provider will have a bigger role to play in the edge as compared to the the general public cloud market? Is that an underlying assumption?
Yeah, I think let's see that over a period of time whether it's going to be hybrid or it is the only telco space. But yes, now the cloud's coming in the plug and play mode. So I'm sure, and the scalability point of view and footprint is available. So I think will not be a challenge for the telco to move from the hundreds to the thousands, which is going to be a 10x requirement of the demand.
Rashim?
Yeah, so my view is that right now in the 4G area, there are two-layer architecture. So all the centralized applications which are signaling intensive applications are centralized, which are hosted by majority of the operators on the regional data centers. The applications which are more carrying a user traffic like packet core payload or a voice payload are decentralized, and they would be, say, one or two locations in a province. So this is how the architecture was in the 4G era. In the 5G area, I think this service provider edge cloud and the user edge and internet edge all will complement each other. What will happen is there will be two type of edge. One edge would be a captive edge, which would be, say, in the enterprise itself, which would be a private network for them. And then there will be an edge which will be hosted at the operator end, which would be complemented by more enhanced services on content, AR/VR, and internet would be a basic services which would continue as it is continuing on the 4G side.
Excellent, thank you. So we did a fair bit of discussions on these now. As we look at it, we see look at other industries, be it the banks, etc. They all seem to view their technology teams as being very core teams to them. And their banks are saying, "Oh, we are more technology companies." Are we seeing, as technology leaders, are you bringing more capabilities in-house? Are you trying to? You see that as a differentiator to help build out? I know Reliance themselves have some plans to build their own technology stack. So I'm very keen to hear, how do you see the build out of your respective technology teams happening over a period of time? And do you see a distinct shift that you are likely to make, or the industry is likely to make? Should we start with you, Rashim?
Yeah, so Airtel started their R&D center in Bangalore around 3 years back, where we are not only developing the 4G part, but we are also working on equipments on home broadband, IoT, and then other wireless products. Our aim is to locally produce the equipments through a way of, say, a contract manufacturing. Airtel always view has been to co-work. So we would be co-working with the technology partners to develop India-specific hardware and software, which would be easy to deploy in India. So the task of the R&D center is to develop the products on home broadband, IoT, 5G by co-working with different partners.
And Chikazizi, you don't have the scale of operating in a market like India. You are in a unique position with about 30 million potential customers. How does that change for you?
I think the approach that we are taking, we have three broad segments that we are serving. We believe that the biggest opportunity will come from the enterprise government in terms of vertical solution and so on. So what we had done the last few years, we started at the end of 2017, is to verticalize our go-to-market in our enterprise segment and start working with the customers, understand their needs, At the same time, try to understand what is the gap in the organization. If you look at from end to end, from going to customer, understanding the need, and so on, having the right solution. As much as we want to build in-house capabilities, we know that we don't have the runway to do it. We don't have the resources to do it. So what we did actually, look at the end-to-end ecosystem, the value chain, and identify the gaps, and ask ourselves which one we want to do on our own, which one that we want to partner. I mean, partnership can come in two flavors. For example, if the solutions are available in the market, we can have these people to work with us to create the end solution. But there are also opportunities for M&A where we can acquire some smaller companies to fill in the gap in the value chain. So this is something that we continue to do. I think Dato' Izzadin mentioned just now, ecosystem, partnership. And this is important for, I believe, for all telecom providers or telcos moving forward, because we are good in connectivity, but in areas that we are going to, there are gaps. I believe we are not able to do everything, and having good partners will actually help us to accelerate our go-to-market.
Excellent. Dheeraj, very keen to hear how is Reliance viewing the technology development. Are you bringing more capabilities in-house? You also, I know there is an ambitious plan to even develop your own 5G solutions.
So Manoj, I think the innovation and the R&D has been a fundamental pillar of the Reliance Jio from the day zero, and even before the 4G launch was started. So be it in a hand space, be it in the mobile broadband or in the fixed broadband, the devices side, RAN side, that's the one area which is right now which is evolved and matured over a period of time. And the second part of the thing which is accelerated in the last couple of years is the OSS, BSS, and the IT piece of the development, and having a in-house development, giving a great flexibility to move to the cloud native platforms, move to the open source stacks, and coming out of the clutches of some of the OEMs, where the time to market or time to introduce new services is in quarters, and which you can do now in weeks. So that's to bring that agility and to bring a better customer experience and having a better monetization capabilities on the new services. I think that's the area where I think the Alliance has developed the whole team over a period of years. So one is the network side, other is the IT part and all. And now going beyond telco, becoming a company like internet companies or Googles of the world and all. So if you have to compete and meet and go in that direction, then I think the agility required, flexibility required, and I think it's a need of the hour to build this the competency and the skill set in the organization, and that only can take to the company beyond connectivity and getting into the IT, ICT space, and then add the revenue in the market.
Correct. James, how do you see that development happening around the world?
Yeah, honestly, it actually depends on the geography and the competitive landscape of the company. I believe my fellow panelists here have actually captured it pretty well. That's the majority of what we see. I firmly do believe that the innovation does come from customers. As vendors, we have the luxury of being able to aggregate a lot of stories together and create new and interesting products to help solve problems. But the problems get presented to us by conversations with the customers, and I think you're seeing a lot of that with the conversations like ORAN, right? You go back through history and you see all of these different organizations and groups and projects fire up. It's because there was a need, and there was a collective need across the industry. And so I do see a lot of it. I do think the talent acquisition, Manoj, you kind of mentioned the banks really doubling down on tech and talent. I believe I'm starting to see an influx of that, and we see that with our customers, especially as they're looking for edge and cloud and virtualization expertise, container expertise. And so I think it's exciting times ahead of us to see the innovation that comes out of these companies.
James, just to continue that, so as we see the transformation to a common infrastructure or the building out of a distributed cloud, so how is the journey that you see operators are doing around the world? And maybe then we can quickly get that opinion from others and then take a few questions more from the audience.
How do I see the innovation of just the infrastructure and IT coming together? Or
yes,
yeah,
and how?
Yeah. So actually, it's exciting. In my past life, at one point I had responsibility for some of the IT, BSS and OSS, and then another part of my life I had network architecture and infrastructure and metro architecture, and we never got along as the two separate teams. But now what I'm seeing is as the technologies are converging, as enterprises and network infrastructure are really more focused on applications, security, API constructs, and microservices, we really do see a combination coming together. And you actually see that and a lot of organizations are now starting to bring their leadership together, where your IT teams and your network teams are actually within the same groups and same departments. And I think that's actually also an extremely powerful thing. So from my perspective, it's nothing but excitement, because you have some of the best networking minds in the world that can solve all of the underlying infrastructure challenges. Then you have some of the best application-minded people in the world working together and taking advantage of this newfound infrastructure.
How quickly is that really happening, Dheeraj, on the ground? Is it as easy as James makes it sound?
I think that's the reality, and we try to take a reference of our own journeys. So I think maybe 10 years back, we used to spend 80% of time in the telecom side and maybe 20% on the OSS, BSS, IT part there. So because the teams used to be different teams and specialized teams, but now I see that the last 10-year journey, now we spend maybe 20% time on the network side and 80% time on the IT, application, cloud, software, and OSS, BSS. And the teams work very, very well together. And on any as I mentioned, that's a transformation which has happened. And now the bridge is no more bridge there, and all the teams work together, because there is no way you can roll out any services, because everything is having a I'm saying the digital engagement. So unless and until you see the entire thing with a zero-touch provisioning, zero-touch configuration, then zero-touch assurance, and the journey is not complete. And all the journeys are around the IT and the OSS BSS side.
Correct. Rashim, I'm sure you almost you would agree, and maybe take that step further. So how does it change the way you hire people now, and the kind of people you are hiring? Because I'm sure you are approaching it in a similar way.
Yeah, it is not only hiring. It is the first task is how to upskill your existing manpower. So digital mindset is part of our core strategy and part of our DNA now. So few steps which we have taken is that, for example, simple things, if there is an alarm which comes, it should not be seen by a human being. The ticket should get automatically generated. If a fault comes once, second time it should get auto healed. So there are some few baby steps we started taking, started building on that, and now we are in a journey where we want to see a network as a single pane of glass. We need to do most of the tasks which should be without touching the network. Software defined, even from the radio side, the software defined radios and the software optimization of the radios. So as Dheeraj said, maximum time which was going into maintaining the network by the operational team is now how to think and start digitizing the operations and self-healing and working on the self-healing of the network and self-optimization of the network.
Correct. And exactly. So there's a nice question from Peter, and others can also comment on this. How will you really differentiate? The move to cloud, I think you guys have established beyond doubt. and maybe to the surprise of many people, because while India and some markets are mature and they have the scale to drive this, maybe other markets will take slightly longer to do it. So the drive towards cloud for all service providers is clear. Will be interesting to hear how will you really differentiate yourself, particularly from the hyperscalers in your local market, other than the privacy and the local governance requirements, which may bring, let's say, certain specific government or other stakeholders to your cloud. What is the other differentiation that you see bringing to the market? Anybody can go first. Yeah.
Well, I'll very interesting. Let me take this up.
Yeah.
We have the global CSP coming, the three giant. So we are a local CSP. There are a few ways of doing it. I think data governance is one. Data sovereignty is I think that is the most important one. It is on our side. We should take advantage of it. I think the relationship, we have relationship directly with customers, whereas the global CSP will have to rely on local MSP to serve the customers here in Malaysia, like, for example. So, these are just two quick examples that we have, but I think these are two very powerful levers that we can pull to win the market here locally.
Okay. Rashim?
I think if I have to pick up one of the biggest use case, edge would be a key differentiator. That would be a blend of enriched communication, infrastructure, and the service. So that would be a key differentiator where operator will be able to give a better connectivity and a better service, and SaaS would become a more reality when it comes to edge cloud. And that power would be with the operator, and that would be the key difference.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Dheeraj, you want to comment anything?
Yeah. So my viewpoint is because when we see the customer, so customer wants to having a single contact or single shop or single point of contact for meeting their connectivity and the IT requirements largely. From that point of view, see the connectivity is there, which is fundamental to give a good experience even for the IT part also. Without having a good connectivity, good availability, and also a good coverage, and which is basically going to touch all the masses, all the people in the organization. So that is fundamental. The missing part which is there, how do we bridge this telco and the IT ICT gap? So that is how I think the transformation is happening. So the cloud marketplace which is there, where the customer as a single customer is able to have the connectivity, plus also able to get the services, software as a service, device as a service. And then the telcos are having a collaborative framework with the public clouds or the application software providers, and then able to give a single shop or single point of contact for all their needs.
So I see that, especially the operators in India again have really making aggressive moves into adjacencies. Adjacent markets, be it e-commerce or payments or entertainment, content, etc. So how does that change your role in your companies? How are you viewing the build out of your network? How are you supporting that and driving that differently moving ahead? Very keen to hear, including from Enchika Zizi as well. Does that change fundamentally? Yes, I think the cloud is one of the biggest enablers to it. Other than that, what are the big differences that you are seeing in the way you are approaching this?
Let me try this. Because we engage with our customers, the three segment and so on. So I think the network is changing, the quality is changing, the devices that we supply to houses or premises are also changing. But importantly, there are other things that we need to do actually to serve and to address these needs. One big area that we are looking at is actually platform. Platform is similar to network. You have one network that you can serve multiple segments, multiple customers by changing the access, the network, the access part of the network. Similarly, having platform It's about a very powerful, what we call tool that we have moving forward. Just imagine we have a platform to do smart traffic light. The same platform actually, by changing probably the AI algorithm, we can do things like, monitoring generators, remote generators, monitoring fishing or ponds and so on. So, these are things that we are working on. Some already available. We already showcased this about 2 years ago, but we are fine-tuning because customers are more smarter today. They understand IoT, they understand vertical solution and so on. So customers are more demanding, they are smarter. So we have to continuously actually improve what we have by working closely with them, by understanding their needs. Just what James mentioned just now. James worked with the industry on O-RAN and so on. Similarly, for us, we need to work with our customers to make things happen for them.
Correct. A quick comment, Rashim, Dheeraj?
Yeah, so I will try this. So the thing which has been particularly changed in Airtel right now, earlier we were thinking that we should have a best network. Now we work that we should have a best gaming experience or we should have a best video experience. And then we took up some key tasks for our digital journey. As an example, there are a lot of fraud which happen on the financial side. And with Airtel Bank, we launched Airtel Safepay, which is a network-initiated security mechanism to give more security to the customers. Then we took an initiative to give a cleaner pipe to our fixed broadband customer by enhancing more security on that pipe. So that is a mindset change which is happening, thinking more about the customer, their pains, whether it is related to frauds or their experience, and then working on that.
Fascinating. A great answer. Thank you very much, Rashid. Interesting. Yeah. Dheeraj?
Yeah, I think we pursue the adjacent market for two reasons. One is a lot of requirements are coming because then you having various cohorts are there, enterprise cohorts are there, and each cohort is having a very different requirements are there. So subscription as a service, device as a service, bundling of the things which are beyond the connectivity plus devices plus the apps and the software. I think that's what is now coming up, and because each customer is having a different requirement, now that flexibility, subscription as a service for each of the bundle, and putting any product into the bundle based on the customer requirement. I think this is a great opportunity, not only from having some advantage we bring out of our retail and other business also, and also with whatever the various partners are there. So our own group companies, then the partners, and then able to give the customer a better experience so that they only have to deal with the one provider for all their requirements. I think that's where we are trying to address this.
Excellent. Thank you. James, I want to allow you to make any concluding remarks on this topic, and then I will summarize this session.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you to my fellow panelists here. This has actually been pretty interesting and fun. A fun way for me to spend my evening since I'm here in the U.S. I would just add on to something that we said. We're talking about how do the carriers and the telcos compete when the cloud dust settles. I think every answer was spot on. But one thing I'm really proud of being part of this industry is, for the past year, we've obviously as a society, we've been through a lot. And when the world shifted, the way work got done and people needed to stay home to be safe, the telcos were there. We largely did not miss a beat. We were able to deliver, communications to our friends and family and keep business going. And as much as people like to think that we're slow and that we don't necessarily innovate as fast as other companies, the reality is that the industry is very good at being extremely reliable and growing with what needs to be done to serve people. And I think that's something that we should be proud of and we should build upon. And I see things like Edge and cloud and 5G as platforms that actually accelerate what we've learned about ourselves over this past year. So thank you. I'll stop there. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, James. I'll bring you back towards the end of the session to wrap it up. And I think personally, it has been a huge learning for me, right from the enthusiasm shown towards moving towards the cloud very rapidly. I think, and I thought it was Rashim who mentioned that so much has got matured in availability of solutions, and that is why we see this very encouraging positive response. The second key takeaway was, I think it was Inchik Aziz, you said, hey, we have to view ourselves as a platform rather than as a network. And the conversation that Rashim and Dheeraj brought, saying, hey, we have to enable the experience. I'm not building the best network. I'm enabling and curating the best experience for the customer. And maybe Edge is a very powerful value proposition and a differentiated proposition for every telco in the world to enable that experience. So I think those are the two big takeaways. Obviously, they shared a lot of other interesting things about building in-house teams, and we did go through in a very rapid fire manner. So thank you very much, Rashim and Chikazizi, Dheeraj, James, for joining and providing us that insight. You all have set the stage for the very fascinating next conversation, which is on can telecom companies and neobanks win in financial services? And I think Rashim already set the stage by saying how he is going to make some payments secure for that session. So thank you for that, and have a great rest of the day, and we'll follow through. Thank you. We now have the next session, which we titled it a great debate. And the idea being the great debate is that financial services have such a huge explosive opportunity. The per capita consumption of financial services in large parts of Asia today, in many ways we can say, is restricted to maybe one or two, or at best on an average 3 services per consumer. We think as an analyst firm that over the course of next decade, the overall consumption of financial services, if we have to take some inspiration from what we are seeing, some of the insurance companies or banks in China are beginning to see, can go up dramatically to about 20 or 30 or 40. So we're going to see some explosive growth in financial services. Now, can the new banks, the neobanks of today, can they win in this space? Can telecom companies who have participated in many of these markets through payment solutions or through some other financial service solutions, can they win in this space? Do they have the capability to execute this plan? And that is the theme of this session. And I'm delighted to have 2 very esteemed members to join me. Thank you for joining us. Ganesh is the COO with Airtel Payments Bank based out of India, I think Gurgaon. And Suman is a founder and CEO of Finan Bank. They just launched their operations, launched their services live, I think just a couple of months ago. So we have some real fresh perspectives from both of them. Before we start with them, we could do a quick poll question. So if I could have that poll question, as many of you are in the telecom industry, do you guys think that neobanks and telecom service providers have it what in them to win in financial services? Can we have the poll question, please? Excellent. Can neobanks and telecom service providers win in financial services? Yeah. Okay. Let's see. It's a quick poll. Let's see how the audience of largely telecom service providers in the region view this. In the previous poll, they thought that they have a better ability to win in the cloud and as compared to financial services. And I think the discussion with the CTOs kind of explained that a little better, that they could do it simply because they believe that the edge is a huge opportunity for the telcos to win in that space. So can we have the results, please? So that Ganesh and Suman have something to talk about. Everybody believes it is that easy a job to win in financial services. Okay, good. So let's start with you, Ganesh. Ganesh, Airtel Payments Bank, you guys have been one of the pioneers. Obviously, you have a very different regulatory regime in India. So therefore, you necessarily don't have, it's a separate entity, yet under the same parent company. Will be great to hear from you the journey of Airtel Payments Bank and how you are positioned in the marketplace.
Thanks, Manoj. Good morning, Suman. Good morning, Manoj. And good morning to everyone listening to us. It's a pleasure to sort of talk to you all and hear views from everyone. I'll very quickly talk about the journey of Airtel Payments Bank. We are a 4-year-old organization. We launched our services in January 2017. As of date, we process close to $35 billion of annualized payment flows, or GMV, or throughput. We've got more than 50 million.
35 billion.
$35 billion of annualized flows is what we have. So approximately $3 billion a month, growing at a very, very good pace. We've got more than 50 million revenue earning customers with us. Almost 27 million customers who transact every month. Transact is defined as a financial transaction on our platform. I'm happy to say that last year the bank turned contribution margin positive, which is a very, very important milestone, given that when we turned contribution margin positive, we were possibly 3.5 years old. We are amongst the top 3 or top 4 banks on some of the key use cases which consumers really sort of love, which is FASTag and BBPS, which includes all bill payments which customers do. We also pride ourselves on having possibly one of the largest active BC agent network in the country. We've got close to 330,000 active BC agents who actually in a fully digital manner help customers do basic financial services transactions like opening a bank account, depositing cash, withdrawing cash, buying a small ticket insurance product, and so on and so forth. And what's more important, is that more than 60% of them are in Tier 5 and Tier 6 markets, which is less than 5,000 population villages. India has 720,000 villages in the country as per the last census. Possibly only 70,000 ATMs which are there in rural. Out of the 220,000 ATMs. So, fact is, you have one ATM serving 10 to 12 villages, maybe 15 villages in the country. And hence, the need for an active BC agent in rural, near the customer's residence, I think is very, very important. And, I think we've built this over the last few years. Obviously, with the support of the parent telco. Finally, and hence, while, this is a very, very important mission, for the bank, which is to drive financial inclusion, what is equally important is our neobank capabilities. Over the last several quarters, we have actually launched what I would think 3 very, very significant innovations. I'll build on with what Rashim spoke about in the previous panel, which is Safepay, where in partnership with Airtel, and using the analytics of the network team of Airtel, we've actually created a product where a customer necessarily needs to give a third factor of authentication, to ensure that a transaction is done. We get more than 40,000 transactions today happening on Safepay, and that number is actually growing by possibly 5-10% month on month. And we've got more than 250,000 of our customers who are already engaged with Safepay. We've launched it just 4 weeks back. The ATL just about broke, I think, a couple of weeks back. So I think that's a very, very important proposition. Secondly, we've launched video KYC. I think there are a few banks in the industry who offer video KYC. We are amongst them. Basis informal numbers I get, I believe we are amongst the top 2 top 2 banks, who in terms of number of accounts opened via video KYC. I think that's the second key proposition. And the third one is a proposition for digitally savvy customers, a bank account for digital customers called Rewards 123, where it's a proposition which is appealing to customers like all of us, with the intent of it being very, very simple, transparent, and rewarding. I think that's really what the proposition is. So a combination of these 3 things, in addition to all the stuff which I spoke to you about, we do believe that we've made a good start in the neobanking space. But India is so large, I think there is, opportunity for this to grow up by 10-15 times of where we are currently. So this is really, Manoj, been our journey, what I would say, over the last, 4 years, with 2 key specific areas. One, wanting to genuinely serve the nation by driving financial inclusion. More than 300 million households in India, where the nearest bank account is far away, or bank branch is far away, or the nearest ATM is far away. And second is, winning in the digital space by creating propositions and products which customers find very, very exciting. So that's in brief about the journey of the bank so far.
Excellent. So I think, Ganesh, that's good to hear. And so you explained the distinctive value proposition, but you're also stuck in India with a regulation that you have to have an arm's length relationship with the Airtel Telecom company. So even in that instance, how do you leave? What is the benefit of being having a same parent company which is also into telecom and in banking? Is there any leverage at all? Because I'm sure many of the telecom operators in different parts of the world will have a similar challenge.
Yeah. So Manoj, I'll comment on your question in two parts. And I'm just caught on the phrase you mentioned. You're stuck with a regulation. I personally think that the regulator in India is extremely customer friendly. Yeah. Now, if those regulations didn't exist, I have a sense that organizations, obviously a lot of us are professional, hence we won't do that. But there are chances that organizations could cross the boundary, and possibly may not be good for the customer. So I do believe that the regulations in India are very centered towards ensuring that people's money are protected. Fact is, you and I have our money with a bank whom we trust. There is a regulator who's responsible to ensure that money is very safe. So to that extent, I think I'm on the side where the regulations are very critical for the success of the banking industry itself. Yeah. Secondly, I also do think that the regulator is also making progress with changing times. For example, the video KYC circular which came in, I think in February last year. It's been a year. Yeah. And they just sort of got it out in time for a lot of wallets to sort of possibly upgrade to a bank account. And during COVID, I think it's been very critical, because if that circular weren't there, then you couldn't do basic banking transactions with customers in a contactless manner. So I do believe that the regulator is making progress in terms of regulations and so on and so forth to get that going. I think that's one part. The second part, which is I think the core question which you asked, Manoj, is obviously we are a standalone organization. We have our own board. There is a very watertight set of conversations we have. It's a separate entity for all practical purposes. However, we do rely quite extensively on the telco. I think the most important aspect really is the brand. Customers in India love Bharti Airtel as a brand. It is possibly amongst the top 3 most loved brands across possibly sectors and industries. Yeah. So I think that's a big positive which sort of comes in. Second, there is a relationship which the telco has, and we have a very clear marketing agreement where the telco will market the use cases of the bank to its 330 million plus customers. And I think that makes sure that the return on investment on some of the marketing activities the telco does, is possibly a fraction for us as compared to what it would be for a standalone organization. Thirdly, I did mention, with a lot of pride, that we have 330,000 BC agents who serve customers in rural India. This would not have been possible if the telco reach weren't there. The telco has possibly approximately 1 million outlets in the country. Airtel has 1 million outlets in the country, where customers come in every day for their recharges. And hence using that network, makes a lot of sense. Airtel is our business correspondent as far as the regulator is concerned, and I do believe that that relationship is working extremely well, where we're able to leverage on the strengths of the telco and help the bank scale. Otherwise, getting to $35 billion of annualized flows in a very short span of time, being contribution positive, I think those are things we may possibly have not been able to get to in a 3 to 4 year time frame, but for the support of the parent telco. That's what I would say, Manoj.
Excellent. Great perspective. Thank you for that. Suman, thank you for patiently waiting. You bring a very diverse experience. You worked in Europe. You worked with some in this space in Europe, and then you were inspired to come back and start this in India. So, what has been the journey so far of coming and setting up a neobank in India, which offers such incredible possible potential for growth?
Hey, Manoj, thanks for hosting me. And Ganesh, you made me jealous with those numbers, really. I tell you that. We neobanks really, we dream and we want to be there. It's such interesting. But okay. So coming to your question, Manoj, to give you a context, I was on the both sides of the table on multiple things, right? I started my career as a telecom engineer. I'm a telecom engineer. So I saw the whole transition from SS7 signaling to HT23 to SIP to WebRTC, and now moving totally into fintech, right? For the last 6 years, I've been working as a venture capital based out of Europe. It's my 17 years journey in Europe. and we invested in multiple neobanks back in Europe, and I was handling the fintech portfolio. And and then I saw a huge potential for, of fintech in India. I will not say neobank. How we started neobank is a different story. So when I saw in the what happened in the last 5 or 6 years in India, it's only two things. One is spending, and another is lending. Right, the whole the wallet app, UPI, and everything, and then came the whole lending and everything. But none of the people are really thinking on the consumer point of view. How we can really help people to manage, save, and invest their money in a simpler and smarter way. Like what like what Ganesh said. Right, Ganesh mentioned it, they're going on the tier 5, tier 6 side of cities where they're doing the financial inclusion, which is quite interesting. But if you really have to see, they say that India is underbanked, but for certain segments, India is overbanked. Okay, for example, tier 1 and tier 2. But even when we are talking about India is overbanked for this segment, none of the people are focusing on consumers. It's like I build a product, I cross-sell the product, I master the product, and I just onboard the customers. But what are the customers? What exactly they need? Okay, and whether it can be banks or whether it can be fintech or whether it can be telecom, they're sitting on huge data. And what is the data they are leveraging on understanding the patterns, right? So that's what when I moved to India, we wanted to build a platform where we can help people to manage, save, and invest their money in a simpler and smarter way. And during this process, we saw that until and unless you're a bank, you will never be understanding or you will never be providing hyper-personalization of products for the users. Right? That's when we decided, okay, we want to be a bank. And as you know, Airtel have their payments bank license, but as neobanks, we are still, we have to see how we have to. So we partner with an existing bank, and we have to piggyback on their license, and we have to piggyback on their architecture, and that's a nightmare, I'll say. And on top of that, we have to, and on top of that, we started building a consumer focused neobank where we help our users to manage, save, and invest their money in a simpler and smarter way. So we understand their user patterns, we understand their behavior, we understand their risk appetite, we understand their spending patterns. On top of that, we see what is the income, what is the salary, or what is the money he's carrying over from one month to another month. Okay, where exactly he is overspending. Instead of telling you how much you spend eating out, we tell you 50-30-20 rule, follow the simple 50-30-20 rule, and this is the amount you can spend out. And when you're reaching a threshold, we notify you're spending out a lot. Why don't you eat at home? Ghar ka khana bhi acha hai. So it's like, it's more like we call ourselves Fitbit for finances, right? Where we help our users to build a better financial habit, so they can save more. Because people are taking loans and EMI for everything, right? Instead of that, why don't you save? Why don't you save and for an emergency fund? Why don't you save for a rainy day? And we automate your savings. We build goal-based savings. We build smart budgeting, and we are building and we are covering the whole 360 degrees of financial banking for the tier 1 segment, especially for white-collar job holders and white-collar freelancers. And we launched recently. It's been 2 months, and the response is great. The traction is really impressive, and the amount of activity we have on our community boards and we have on our community channels, it's really interesting. And I think we really saw that product market fit for a neobank in India, and right now we are more focusing on scaling and growing.
Excellent. And in terms of the specific distinctive segment that you are focusing, what segment is it? Is it the rural market? Is it the youth? Is there a specific segment, user segment?
We are focusing on more tier 1, tier 2 digital, mobile savvy, white collar job holders, and white collar freelancers. These are the segments we are focusing on.
Across the length and breadth of the country.
Yes, across the length and breadth of the country. That's what we are focusing right now. But again, as you know, banks are basic for anything, right? So we can always focus on verticalized targets, but right now we want to focus on this, and we don't want to lose the focus once we get a traction. Let's see how things goes. It all depends on the acquisition, it all depends on the partnerships, it all depends on how we can grow and scale.
Sure. So for the next part of this conversation, for the next about 12-14 minutes or so, I want to take I want to be a provocator, asking you all because the title was The Great Debate. Can you guys really win in the long term? Can you have a bigger impact? The opportunity is there. And that is more from the perspective of we have seen many banks in Europe, they start off in a very promising manner, yet they have not necessarily, executed as well up to their expectation. Same is happening in Australia as well. But we also have many success stories as well. And my line of questioning is more so that we have a better understanding of the opportunity and what it takes to win rather than really targeting. So maybe the first question is, one of the big challenges with the newer banks is we are always picking up very low margin, high growth potential projects. And as a result of which, maybe breaking even, making money, getting to that necessary scale to make money is a distant dream. Is that a real challenge? How do you propose that you will address that challenge? Maybe we start with you, Ganesh.
Sure. So, Manoj, I think it's a very, very important, point to sort of discuss. I'll take you through, what our approach has been, because as I mentioned in the introduction, we are proud to say that we have turned contribution margin positive, and this is despite sort of playing in what you call potentially low margin businesses. To me, I think I will answer this question in two parts. One, margin is a function of obviously what the customer or what we get from a partner, and is a function of the cost we incur in serving customers. Yeah, for us, because we ride on a very, very strong brand of Airtel, the cost to serve customers is very low, and hence what is potentially low margin for standalone entities doesn't necessarily need to be as low as it is for us. And hence I think that's one important aspect, and hence the benefit of 330 million customers of Airtel, the strong brand, the distribution, the strong technology and digital platforms, I think really helps in a big way. I think that's one answer. The second thing I would think is that every category has a role to play in the portfolio of an organization. There would be potentially, products like UPI where the margins are actually zero, they are regulated, but at the same time, there could be, products like insurance, or a life insurance product where the margins could be as high as 30-35%, so I do believe that, products like UPI, their role is to drive engagement, get customers to use our platform on a daily basis. Yeah, you could pay your bills, you could pay zillions of things and so on and so forth. Now, depending on what kind of customer experience you offer, on your platform, and how do you nudge the customer to do more transactions, I think is how you would eventually, end up making money. We are actually, today we sell a sizable amount of insurance products, on our platforms, in a fully digital manner, and that's because the experience we offer our customers is pretty interesting. So while the customer does come to our platform to do a utility bill payment where the margins are actually $2.50 a utility a bill. So if your average ticket size is say $2,000, it's actually a 10 bps margin. Yeah, UPI could be zero. So while the customers do come for these kinds of transactions, that's what drives engagement. As my CTO always says, it's like a toothbrush habit, creating a toothbrush habit, and getting more customers to come on to our platform more often and doing all of these transactions. Then nudging the customer to move towards potentially higher margin products, I think is the way to go. And I think that's something which we have done over the last few quarters, and it's given us very good results. Finally, there is a price which I do believe that customers will be willing to pay for simplicity, transparency, and consistency, which is what our Rewards 123 proposition is. We charge customers 299 rupees as an annual fee, and as a consequence of that, we assure the customer that there are steady cashbacks offers which the customer will get right through the year. Because today, for people like us, who aren't as much stressed about, the cashbacks, but obviously have a stress on time, we don't want to go to any platform which is available who doesn't have a cashback. Because at the end of the day, we tend to feel cheated saying, listen, there's an opportunity lost. Can I get that, penny saved? And hence we would be delighted if there is someone who came and told us, saying, listen, and this is what research has, showed us. We did a lot of, consumer study, to understand this. And the insight really was that customer said, listen, I want an offer. I don't care if it's the best offer in the industry, but I just want an offer which is consistent. And I want you to be very, very transparent, because sometimes, the offer says saying, listen, you get $100, but you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. only then you get it. I'm saying sometimes, and those are things which customers, don't appreciate as much. So consistency, simplicity and transparency, customers are willing to pay, and we've seen that with Rewards 123, which is a premium offering we have, we're charging customers 299 rupees for that, and hopefully in a few weeks we should launch a more premium variant for that one, because I do believe that there is a lot of money to be made in this space, as long as you're able to deliver the right value and the right proposition to the customer. So that's what I would say, Manoj, is the opportunity we have, and how we would sort of look at this business.
Excellent. Suman, you have had experience lending money to these banks. You have experience now in building your own bank. Are you really going to get the low margin customer, the low margin product, and therefore scale becomes such a big critical factor in your profitability?
Sure. Look, I will, Ganesh, thanks a lot. I can't put it much better. Okay, I'll tell you that. I think the thing here is very clear. You compared in your question, you're talking about neobanks in Europe or neobanks in Australia, right? And neobanks in India. The issue with neobanks in Europe and Australia or out of India, they are living or surviving on a 0% or zero interest or negative interest countries, right? So they really have to survive on the MDR, okay, and on the banking fees. Other than that, there is no business model over there. Okay, nobody wants to put money in bonds like the way people put money in mutual funds in India. All right, so the business model is totally different. And like Ganesh said, right, simplicity, consistency, and transparency. That is the thing, right? If you can show them the value, how simple you can. You don't. Right now, you have to be a financial analyst to look at your bank statement. Right. Even if you can improve how the bank statement or bank transactions look on your mobile bank, it changes the experience drastically. Right. And the transparency. When coming to the transparency, in a lot of travel websites, they have this buy travel insurance check by default, and most of the people, they don't even buy the travel insurance because they don't know what they get. They don't know how to get if they buy it. However, you put 5 bullet points on this is what you get, then this is how you get, and people will be more than happy to buy an insurance because it's just 100 rupees. And like that, there is huge margin, right? And consistency, right? If you can prove to the user who is living EMI to EMI, paycheck to paycheck, that you can help them to save 100 rupees to start with, and the user will be more than happy to give you 5 rupees out of that 100 rupees, right? Because the problem is that the value what you bring to the user, how you bring to the user, and when to bring to the user, right? That's what matters and things. And I will, if you see any bank, right? People talking about unicorns in all the startups. Unicorn is now there's no value for a unicorn anymore. Okay, no, it's decacorn, not decacorn, right? But if you see every bank is a unicorn, and I'm not saying every bank, every product in a bank is a unicorn, right? So there are multiple products in a bank which are unicorns. How about taking one product and building in such a way that you can build a better product? Right. So that's why build a better product with what user needs in a better, simple way. Be transparent on what you're going to give, and be consistent in providing that value, that experience, that transparency. And I think there is a lot of money to make, because it's not just about lending money. Because people are talking about lending money. It's not about lending money. So look at Airtel Payments Bank. Right? Ganesh mentioned that people are doing FASTag and BBPS. FASTag and PVP on every app. If they are doing so better, because they're doing it in simpler and better way, right? So if they are generating money on two products, there are multiple products. If you can really push the product in the right way, it's not about, when I say push, not about picking the call and say like loan chahiye, mutual fund chahiye. No, it's about understanding the user when he needs it, what he needs it, how he needs it, and provide it, and there is a value. And I'm very surprised that people are paying for a yearly subscription, and I have to try that on my neobank.
Yeah. The next question: cybersecurity. We have had many neobanks around the world had serious issues. They build it on open source platforms. Some of them had to publicly come apologize. Some of them had to shut down as a result of this. How are you addressing that? Is that an issue? Is that a bigger risk for every neobank? Suman, we start with you.
Yes, there are. But again, I will put it in a simpler way. Let me put it in a different way. I will say everyone in India is talking about open banking, okay, but there is nothing open about banking in India. simple and clear. Okay, so if you go to European banking as a platform, right, or European bank, and you can go to their websites and you can access their APIs and you can start testing their APIs from day one. Okay, and then you can build a prototype before going live, and then once you build a prototype, you can do certain checks, and then you can test with certain users, and you can go live. India is not so easy. Before we even want to get the APIs, I'm saying even before we have to get the APIs to test in the UAT, we have to do the amount of security checks, amount of compliance and regulation checks, amount of certifications we have to done. The banks never open their APIs to you until and unless you follow 20, 30 pages of security checks, ISO, ISM, PCI DSS, all the DDoS, all the penetration tests, and it should be certified by a certificate authority. And we never get access. That is the reason I always say there is nothing open about banking in India, open banking in India. And banks really, if you do not even comply with one single point, they never give you access to their APIs. They never give you access to even the testing servers. And it's, I know what we go through. So I will say, okay, I'm not saying there is no chance of cyber threat, but yeah, there is a huge chance because they are more clever than anyone, right? I know. I'm a tech guy myself. I'm a tech guy myself, so I know how things are. I saw the whole Bitcoin ransomware in 2010. When I first saw a lawyer, advocate company, or lawyer friend of mine, his whole company will. Or ransomware, and they asked for 10 bitcoins, right? And then those days it's 10 bitcoins, and they go like, dude, you have bitcoins, right? You want to give? Like, yeah, I'll give you for what? I have to pay someone so they can remove the ransomware. And like, no, don't pay. Let's see, and then everything. That's how they're very clever. They started with bitcoins on those days. Right now, it's much more. So we really have to be, make sure that the security is perfect. We have to make sure that all the certifications are done, all the testing is done, and the 24/7 constant modernization is very important for a neobank along with a bank partner.
Yep. Ganesh, you want to quickly comment? Brief one?
I'll just, I think Suman, did a very good job by explaining, all of it. And I'm able to fully relate to him. Just that I have a slightly different perspective. And as a bank, we follow exactly all of those, checks and balances that Suman does. Because one, the regulator expects us to do. And secondly, and I mentioned this earlier, people trust us by storing money with us. So to that extent, I think we have not just a legal obligation, but also a moral obligation of ensuring that we don't fail the customer's trust. And all of these are exceptionally critical, to ensuring that. We've seen multiple cases of multiple, fintechs or other regulated entities where data has been compromised and so on and so forth. It does put a lot of risk, and hence to make sure that these things don't come up. I think all of what someone mentioned, which he sees as pain, I would think is actually in a manner doing good to customers. I'm sure someone will have a different point of view on that. We can possibly catch up later and discuss.
When coming to the customer, I will never have a different point of view, and you're totally right about it, Ganesh. The customer comes first.
Got it. Thanks.
A quick question, very short answer is scale necessary for neobanks to win? Yes, scale necessary. Without a scale, you cannot win and be profitable. Is that a prerequisite?
I'll answer that question first. Yeah, sorry, Suman, go for it.
No, Ganesh, go on. I want to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, see, it's a function of how which customer segment you're looking at and what kind of products you're offering. For example, if you and the way in which the group, the Bharti group is sort of looking at it is to say that possibly half of India has a smartphone. 2/3 of them use it for any kind of social media transactions. Possibly 1/3 of that, use it for any financial transaction, which is possibly 150 to 200 million customers. So there is a massive market. Now, if you choose to say that I want to play in half of India who has a smartphone, that's potentially more than 500 million customers in India, then the model is very different, because then you need to look at high transacting use cases, get you and your peer group to start adopting your brand and drive it in that manner. However, if you choose to say that I'm looking at only 2 million customers who park their car every day at a mall for the sake, or in their office for the sake of argument. In which case, then, because that tends to be, and I'm now talking about the entire FASTag acquiring opportunity. There are a lot of fintechs potentially moving towards a neobanking sort of a time frame who want to play in that space. In which case, it's niche, but it tends to be higher margin. So I don't think it's a function of your business model, which customer segment you're going after, and how would you sort of see? That's my very short answer, Suman.
Very good.
Totally right. It's depending on the segments you're focusing on, what kind of verticals you're focusing. For example, if you're focusing on a white collar freelancers, right, you see a tremendous value proposition over there. Because I'll just give you one of the biggest pain points is for a freelancer in India is to receive the money from their foreign clients. Right, it's still a pain point. However, you solve that, and there is a huge money on the forex, right? And most of these freelancers, their income is very erratic. Sometimes you make 10,000, sometimes you make 50,000, so they cannot really plan their financial journey. Right. However, you make sure that they get the revenue. And most of these freelancers, they are not. Most of the people, they don't even give you loans, or they don't give you a credit card because they are not on the credit score because they don't have a job or they don't have a business. Right. However, that's focusing. So if you focus on that and generate revenue on certain segments, and if you are focusing on students, they have to do a lot of transactions on their credit card, debit card because they don't have any money to store. Right. So you really have to have the scale if you're focusing on the millennial or student segment. But where and if you're focusing on the white collar job holders with a salary bracket of 45,000 to 1 lakh, you can sell them insurance, you can push mutual funds, you can push multiple products. So it depends. Scale is important based on what are those segments and what are the verticals you're focusing. Yeah.
Got it. Excellent. There is so much more to talk, and I think both of you are so enthusiastic. I believe it has brought in a lot of energy and excitement to everybody who is excited about playing in this space. So thank you very much for your time and for that insights. I truly think there is so much of a growth opportunity, with the consumption of financial services, that there is an opportunity for so many companies to contribute. And as you said, scale is important, but it really depends on the segments that you're offering. So thank you very much. Wishing you, Ganesh, success. May the 3 billion per month become 30 billion per month very soon. And Suman, we will get to that 3 billion hopefully very, very soon as well. Wishing you all success in it. Yeah.
Thank you, Manoj.
Thank you very much, Ganesh, and thank you, Suman.
Thank you, Suman.
Yeah.
Nice talking to you.
Ganesh, thanks a lot. I will talk to you.
Yeah. So thank you everybody for joining. I think it has been an interesting morning. I think firstly we saw some very good excitement and enthusiasm from Datuk Izzuddin Idris talking about the growth and future opportunity. And then the CTOs, I think for the first time I've seen personally the CTOs excited about how well they're having a common infrastructure between IT and the network, and the possibilities that it gives them, their excitement about edge, and the excitement about creating and delivering experience platforms. I thought that was a remarkable output. I want to bring in James. James, thanks for staying up a little late and coming back to help me conclude and thank everybody. So firstly, James, thanks for your partnership. I think, it is our inaugural one, and I think we have managed to bring people together to have a conversation. So thank you for that. I'll let you say a few comments. I know we are way over time, but give you a minute or two to just say.
I appreciate it. And you actually, you summed it up well. As I was sitting here listening to the session, I couldn't help but think how all of these things come together between 5G, IoT, and edge, and then listening to the financial services panelists talk about the excitement they have around how they can innovate with new technologies and what they're doing to help solve real problems for real people. The only thing I was thinking to myself, Manoj, is we need to do this again. The feedback we're getting from the chat here is fantastic. I'm excited. I'm energized. I don't think I'll be able to go to sleep now after this, hearing all of the conversation. So I do want to thank you. I feel like I've got the best job in the world when I get to work with our customers and help solve some of these problems. And so getting a chance to actually participate with customers and hear how some of these technologies are being applied to innovate and create new businesses is always exciting. I'm looking forward to the next one here. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, James. And, if we can put that slide, we have a special gift for everybody who is attending. We have launched our platform, so you can consume content on our platform. So you can, use your QR code scanner and you can get a free 30-day access to the platform. Give us some feedback. Our entire purpose is to make research a joy to consume, just like you consume Instagram or any of the social media. And we want to be about insights that find you. So thank you all for joining. We will endeavor to do this on a regular basis. And we appreciate all the feedback. Do drop us an email if you have any feedback on what we can do to improve, including the content we can cover. So with that, signing off, thank you from Twimbit as well as from F5 and James here.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you
care.
all. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.